people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. The latest from Most Valuable Promotions, New York, this Tuesday at the Oculus. We are so excited for the first event of the Taylor vs. Serrano Fight Week, our MVP Open workout. Come and see this Friday, July 11th, fighters work out publicly ahead of fight night while seeing two sanctioned fights between some of boxing's hottest up-and-coming prospects.
Rosado versus Vasquez.
Young Crystal Rosado of Puerto Rico, that sports a professional record of 6 wins with no losses, no draws, 2 knockouts, returns to action in what is another developmental fight for the 22-year-old, campaigning in the women's bantamweight division. Bantamweight, that's where Shernika Johnson and Sharita Metcalf will be fighting for undisputed on the undercard of Taylor versus Serrano 3.
That's where Crystal campaigns.
She will be facing Argentina's own Agustina Solange Vasquez, who sports a professional record of 4 wins with 3 losses, 2 draws, no recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 9 professional bouts.
I've long maintained that young Crystal Rosado has everything it takes to become the face of the 118-pound division. She's got the talent, the marketability,
potentially the fanfare. It helps that she is a Puerto Rican fighter from the island of Puerto Rico. We all know how supportive that fan base can be of their fighters as young Crystal develops and continues to familiarize herself with the audience.
The promotion.
She's definitely with the right promoter, campaigning in the right division. Now, I don't think that Crystal Rosado is anywhere near ready to face a Shernika Johnson, a Sharita Metcalf. Not yet. Those kind of fighters, those champions.
Yeah, she's not on a collision course with them per se, but she is in the right place at the right time, promoted by the right promoter. Last in action in March of this year, opposite the ring, Bethy Franco, who she decisioned over 6 rounds. Before that, she fought 3 times last year.
It's a good schedule of activity.
Having already fought once this one, and this fight set to be her second fight of this calendar year, that leaves plenty of time for the fall and winter months to do at least one more fight.
How soon can we expect young Crystal to be ready to fight for an alphabet title?
Next year, I'd say.
In this one, we're likely going to see the inaugural undisputed bantamweight champion crowned when Shernika Johnson faces Sharita Metcalf. But after that, there won't be much reason for the winner of that fight to stay at 118 pounds. They can then move up, maybe take on Ellie Scottney, at which point all of those titles are going to go vacant, and a fighter like Crystal can fight for one or some of them. I would put her world title opportunity at some point next year, mid to late, because she's not yet fighting in world title eliminators.
And now she's about to have a developmental fight, a bring-along fight, this upcoming Tuesday, and I anticipate she's going to do the business. She's going to get the job done. I've seen her, and she's very good.
Crystal Rosado on points this Tuesday is the logical way to go. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, you may have heard that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was arrested and bound to be deported, according to the Department of Homeland Security. A recap of that entire kerfuddle. 5 days after his main event loss to Jake Paul, former middleweight champion and son of the Mexican legend Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has been arrested. The Department of Homeland Security announced on Thursday, calling Chavez Jr. a criminal illegal alien. DHS announced Immigration and Customs Enforcement is processing Chavez Jr. for extradition and removal from the United States. Chavez is a Mexican citizen who has an active arrest warrant in Mexico for his involvement in organized crime and trafficking firearms, ammunition, and explosives, a DHS statement reported.
For a perspective, Julio Cesar Chavez is not a street person who grew up in the mean streets of Mexico per se. He's a Nepo baby. He's the son of a Mexican legend. So if he somehow falls in line with the wrong crowd, it's not because he's a gangster, it's because he's a wannabe. Chavez Jr., who lost this past Saturday to Jake Paul at the Honda Center in Anaheim, California, entered into the United States legally with a tourist visa that expired in February of 2024, DHS says. Chavez is also believed to be an affiliate for the Sinaloa cartel, a designated foreign terrorist organization. DHS announced upon ICE's arrest of Chavez Jr. in Studio City, California on Wednesday. Sean Gibbons, Chavez Jr.'s advisor, described the arrest as a visa issue, and when asked by text message if Chavez Jr. is part of the Sinaloa cartel, Gibbons said no. So Chavez isn't a drug mule?
Still a jackass.
Still a donkey.
In its prepared statement, DHS alleges that on April 2nd, 2024, Chavez filed an application for lawful, permanent resident status. Chavez's application was based on his marriage to a U.S. citizen who is connected to the Sinaloa cartel through a prior relationship with the now deceased son of the infamous cartel leader, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman.
Is it supposed to be a coincidence that at a time when there's a warrant for his arrest south of the border, he comes here, marries some broad that just so happens to be connected to that cartel?
On December 17th of last year, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services made a referral to ICE that Chavez is an egregious public safety threat. However, an entry in a DHS law enforcement system under the Biden administration indicated Chavez was not an immigration enforcement priority.
Under the Biden administration, things at the border were a lot more laxed than they are now,
allowing for unsavory characters like Julio Cesar Chavez to enter into the country. On January 4th, 2025, the Biden administration allowed Chavez to re-enter the United States and paroled him into the country at the San Isidro port of entry, following multiple fraudulent statements on his application to become a lawful permanent resident. He was determined to be in the country illegally and removable on Friday, as he was weighing in for the Jake Paul fight.
Imagine if they would have got to him before that.
While Chavez trained in the United States for Jake Paul, and Saturday's event passed without interruption by ICE, after numerous raids throughout Southern California, it was emphasized in the DHS statement that President Trump and United States Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, will not allow such vicious cartels to operate on American soil.
Anybody that has seen Chavez in action the last few years would know there's nothing vicious about him.
The Sinaloa cartel affiliate with an active arrest warrant for trafficking guns, ammunition, and explosives was arrested by ICE. It is shocking the previous Biden administration flagged this criminal illegal alien as a public safety threat, but chose not to prioritize his removal, let him leave, and come back into our country. Assistant Homeland Security Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said in a statement,
Yeah, Sleepy Joe's border policy was a lot more laxed than what we're seeing here today.
Sleepy Joe, who was more concerned with letting boys play in girls' sports than securing our borders.
Sleepy Joe.
Under President Trump, no one is above the law, including world-famous athletes. Our message to any cartel affiliates in the United States is clear: we will find you, and you will face the consequences. The days of unchecked cartel violence are over. DHS detailed Chavez Jr.'s rap sheet in its statement, starting with his 2012 arrest conviction and 13-day jailing for driving under the influence of alcohol.
Are you hearing this? this guy comes here from south of the border, gets behind the wheel intoxicated.
In 2023, a district court judge issued an arrest warrant for the offense of organized crime for the purposes of committing crimes of weapons trafficking and manufacturing crimes in the modality of those who participate in clandestinely bringing weapons, ammunition, cartridges, explosives into the country, and those who manufacture weapons, ammunition, cartridges, and explosives without a corresponding permit. In early 2024, the LA Police Department arrested Chavez Jr. with illegal possession of an assault weapon and manufacture or import of a short-barreled rifle, resulting in a conviction.
Are you hearing this?
This Nepo baby that wants to be a gangster gets to hopscotch back and forth on both sides of the border on U.S. soil with a short-barreled rifle.
Another testament to the Biden administration's many failures and just how lax their border policy was. What kind of people were getting in during the Biden administration? What kind of people are now getting kicked out?
Chavez Jr.'s arrest occurs just as President Trump and ICE have been boosted by the approval of the quote-unquote Big Beautiful Bill and stands to build a makeshift detention facility in Florida dubbed Alligator Alcatraz that can house as many as 3,000 migrants. President Donald J. Trump designated the Sinaloa cartel as a foreign terrorist organization. The DHS statement said the Sinaloa cartel targeted and viciously murdered U.S. Marine Corps veteran Nicholas Quetz and has kidnapped, tortured, and killed many other Americans. The Sinaloa cartel has also played a major role in the trafficking of fentanyl across the U.S.-Mexico border.
Gone are the days of the flaccid and inept Democratic leadership that would allow a hooligan like a Chavez Jr. into our country. I don't feel the least bit of pity for him.
Could you imagine if that drunk Kamala would have took office? We would have got more of this. More of these kinds of people.
Come on.
Now President Scheinbaum hopes that boxer Chavez Jr. serves his time in Mexico.
Don't worry, he's on his way.
Mexico City, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said Friday that Mexico hadn't previously arrested boxer Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. on a 2023 arrest order because he had mostly been in the United States during the Biden administration.
That's no coincidence.
During the Biden administration, very little oversight was given as to what kind of people were coming across that border. Scheinbaum spoke a day after U.S. authorities announced the boxer's arrest in California for overstaying his visa and lying on a green card application. He was being processed for extradition removal, according to U.S. authorities. The hope is that he will be deported and serve the sentence in Mexico, Scheinbaum said during her daily news briefing on Friday, referring to charges that he faces for arms and drug trafficking. The 39-year-old boxer, according to his attorney, Michael Goldstein, was picked up on Wednesday by a large number of federal agents while he was riding a scooter in front of a home where he resides in the upscale LA neighborhood of Studio City. The arrest came only days after the former middleweight champion lost a match against influencer-turned-boxer Jake Paul in Anaheim, California, doing a great service to his country and his people.
Jake Paul.
He split his time in between both countries. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers detained Chavez for overstaying a tourist visa that he entered the U.S. with in August of 2023 and expired in February of 2024. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security said the agency also said Chavez submitted multiple fraudulent statements when he applied for permanent residency on April 2nd, 2024, seemingly on the lam south of the border, seeking refuge here in the States, though not exactly a refugee.
In the refugee sense of the word.
Based on his marriage to a U.S. citizen, Frida Munoz, her daughter is a granddaughter of imprisoned Sinaloa cartel kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Is that supposed to be a coincidence?
I don't think so.
U.S. officials said Chavez is believed to have ties to the powerful Sinaloa cartel, which is blamed for a significant portion of Mexico's drug violence.
Let's not stand on ceremony. Yeah. Mr. Wayne.
Part of facilitating the American dream doesn't involve taking in other countries as garbage, other countries as trash. This news was met with some pushback, some resistance in some quarters. A Twitter user that goes by the name Martha G25 said, "If Julio Cesar Chavez is guilty, let him pay. But the coincidences are very strange. To leave this country and enter the United States, he had to show his Mexican passport. If there was an open investigation in Mexico, why was he allowed to leave the country? And now, that's all anyone talks about."
Well, he was likely allowed to leave Mexico because they're not doing enough down there to take care of the cartels.
Frankly, I think they're afraid to take the cartels on, which is why the cartels are allowed to operate over as wide a region as they do.
You're asking how was it he was able to leave Mexico? That's how. They're not doing enough to catch their criminals down there, and on this side of the border,
During the time he entered into the country, well, that was during the Biden administration. They were letting any old riffraff into the country during the Biden administration. Another particularly disgruntled Twitter user that goes by the name Zariah Alcaraz said, "This has Jake Paul all over it. This is what white Americans do. They take advantage of Mexicans, then have them get deported so they don't have to pay them."
What?
What is getting done to Jake Paul and MVP for hiring an illegal and profiting off of him and everyone who went to go watch the fight?
Wait, she's blaming Jake Paul for Chavez getting deported?
So basically, you think that Jake Paul set him up, sweetheart. Jake Paul can't set him up if he doesn't have legal infractions on both sides of the border and ties to the Sinaloa cartel.
Are you serious?
Saying F ICE, F Jake Paul, F the WBA. I am so angry right now. But angry about what? That a criminal that Mexico failed to apprehend was apprehended in America? Or do you think we're supposed to house this guy?
Yeah, that's what we should do. We should house him, give him access to all of our services, right?
Wrong. Guy's got no regard for the law of the land in his own home country, so he's supposed to be allowed to break them here too? Wrong. Go home.
Now.
Zariah continued, "I'm so fed up with America and all of its drama.
Then leave.
They say we have freedoms as Americans, but do we?
Chavez is not American.
Whatever freedoms are extended to Americans are not also extended to illegal aliens, but you yourself are an American, and no one's stopping you from leaving. You're free to go, if you want to go, since you are so quote-unquote fed up with America and all of its drama. What you're seeing here today as a byproduct of this administration is a byproduct of the previous one and their laxed border policy that allowed all sorts of riffraff to cross that border in untold numbers. So now this administration is cleaning up that mess, and it just is what it is.
This has always been a hot button topic in this country for as long as I can remember, but the last 4 years and that administration running things the way they did exacerbated things even further to where this is the response to every action. There is a reaction. And if they have to make an example out of a well-known athlete in Chavez, oh well, and that might be what they're doing. Using him as an example that no one, even a well-known athlete, is above the law, and what applies to one applies to all.
Theatricality aside, he had an active warrant for his arrest south of the border. If Scheinbaum and her people didn't do enough to apprehend him, it's okay.
DJ's guys did it. Now you can deal with him. He is your problem.
Really, he was always your problem. You just didn't do enough about it. So this hot button topic that exists within the political space has found its way into the boxing space.
It's causality.
Cause and effect. What you did caught up to you.
Am I supposed to feel bad for him?